Hi, welcome to Understanding Conscious Cryptids with me, Kat Hansen, your host. Hi everyone, Happy New Year, it's me, Kat. Welcome to Understanding Conscious Cryptids. You know, I thought about it for a little while, and I thought today I might talk about Ste'ye'mah skin, Sasquatch skin, Bigfoot skin. I know it's a strange subject, but I thought everyone might like to kind of get their feet wet in this little foray here. I want to say that it's different from human skin in that you notice that they have really large pores, and the skin that is exposed usually is pretty tough looking, you know, kind of weather worn. Like you see people that work outside a lot and how they get that tanned, almost like a leathery look to their skin. Well, that's how their skin is. Sometimes I notice in the younger ones that it's kind of white and pink and soft under the hair, but that's only for a little while after they're born. They start to toughen up really fast. I know that they don't have to worry about skin cancer and things like that because they have natural aids to make sure that they don't get cancer. At least that's what I think, because I've never seen one with cancer, and I've seen them out and about in 120 degree heat, clear down to minus 32. So these guys are exposed big time to the elements, and their skin is not like human skin. It has to be able to take the elements. So imagine, if you will, that you're touching their hand. And people have asked me, you know, well, what does that feel like? And I always say the same thing. It feels like a catcher's mitt. If you squeeze a catcher's mitt, you'll notice that it has some padding in it, but not a lot. And it's very firm and thick. And that's exactly what their skin feels like. It feels to me like a catcher's mitt. Sometimes in the males, they have dirt in their skin, you know, and that comes from living in the elements, and that's just the way that they are. And it feels kind of dusty, grimy feel to it. In the juveniles, I probably shouldn't call them juveniles. I should probably call them young teeners. They go through a phase where they have very thick, sebaceous outputs on their skin. It's not like a human in that, you know, human teenagers get zits. These guys don't get that. These teenies get, like, it's almost like earwax build up on their skin. I know that sounds so gross, but that's the only way I can explain it. It's put out by their sebaceous glands, and it's very thick and grimy and grungy feeling. And I know it sounds terrible, but I really didn't like touching them when they're teenagers. I really don't. I don't like having them reach out to touch me or have me hold their hand and stroke it. You know, I don't. It's just so nasty feeling because the hair and the grime and that oily output that their body puts out at that age, it's just nasty. It really is. And for them, I've noticed that when they go into the water during that phase, the water just rolls off them like a duck. I am totally serious. It's just the grossest thing. I'm so glad when they outgrow it. The adults, on the other hand, for the most part, their skin is very warm and dry to the touch. It feels really comfortable to touch. It doesn't feel like you would expect it to feel, you know. It's just very tough, very thick, and warm. And it actually feels like a man holding your hand that works outside in the elements. So it's not bad in any way, shape, or form. I do notice that their feet, and I have talked about this before, their feet are one continuous pad, and it's very, very thick, very, very tough. It's, to me, I've hunted bear my whole life. It's even thicker than a bear's pad on their foot. It's just the strangest thing, and it's white, gray colored, almost like an elephant's foot. You know, if you can imagine, or if you've ever seen a documentary on elephants, you know, and they lift up their feet and they show, it's like that. It's got that big, thick, heavy pad on it. And they use this for when they're out walking, you know, because they don't have shoes. So this is how they make sure that they are comfortable in the elements. You know, their body has ways of making up calluses that are very thick, very dense, you know, and they work just like shoes work. And that's on their feet. Now, they do get thick skin, too, on their elbows and on their knees. And I think that comes from them being out in the elements. And remember what I said, they bend down and sleep in that position for at least 30 minutes a day, several times a day. You know, they bend down and they're kind of hunched over on their knees with their head to the ground. So their elbows are there, their forearms, underneath the side of the forearms, and their knees, and of course their toes. So they're again, all those areas are covered with a really thick kind of skin. Their ears are very delicate. They're like human ears, you know, to a certain extent, in that they are exposed to the elements, but they don't have that leather-like feel to them. I have touched ears before on babies and on the females, and a couple times on Kyasa. And Kyasa's feels, you know, hot and dry. The females have a little bit softer skin, and of course the babies have really, really soft skin. Their pores on the skin are quite large, and I think that's because they use it for heating and cooling and evaporation on their body. So they, you know, these guys are big, really big, and they put out a lot of energy when they do stuff, you know. I mean, like if they're walking, just walking, you know, will make them, you know, have to be cool. I'm not sure how that works because they are such a big person, you know, their beings are just so big. So I think that they have to have this extra large pore to help cool and maintain their body temperature. The hair on their head is thick for the most part, but with your fingers you can pull it and look at their scalp, and their scalp is very, it's not as thick and horny looking, you know, as the rest of their body. It's a little bit thinner, you know, and you can actually notice when you touch it that they move, you know, they'll pull their head away, or they'll duck down, or sometimes they'll push back into my hand, you know. But that to me shows me that their scalp is a little bit more sensitive or tender than the rest of their bodies. They do get, it sounds rude on my part, and I don't mean it to be so, but on their underside of their butt, where the cheek meets the leg, sometimes it gets worn. The hair gets worn there, and you can actually see a callus. And when I was a kid, I used to think it was funny because I used to call it a butt callus from sitting on their butts so much. But as I've grown older, I realize that's exactly what it is. You know, these guys sit. So they sit on the ground, they sit on rocks, they sit on pine needles, they sit on all sorts of things that are not comfortable for us to sit on. But it is for them. You know, they've learned to just accommodate themselves and to do this. So the next question that I want to answer here is the skin the same on the face as it is on the rest of the body? No, it is not, because their face is a lot more exposed to the weathered elements. So it does have a little bit more wear and leather-like quality to it. The skin that's under the hair is a little bit more tender. The hands are really hard, you know, like I said, they're like a catcher's mitt, and the feet the same way. These guys, you know, have learned to adapt to the elements in every sense of the word. So for them to do this, they had to learn, you know, their bodies had to learn to do these things. Okay, I hope that's answered some questions there. People have asked me about their eyes, you know, what do their eyelids look like? Well, pretty much they look like our eyelids, except they have a nictitating membrane in their eyes. So they actually have two eyelids, like a cat. You know, I'm not sure how that works because I'm not a researcher, you know, but that's exactly what it does. When they blink at you, that nictitating membrane comes up and you'll see it for half a split second and then it's gone, you know. And I've learned that in my own dealings with them, I think they have to have this because, remember I told you, they tunnel. And the tunnels that they dig are just enormous. So I think they have to have this for being underground. You know, my cats have this, you know, well, not so much my cats, I guess, but I noticed their eyes, their membrane on their eyes, in the corner of their eyes, are the same way. But these guys have an eye like a shark, you know, where that membrane completely slides up, then it slides down, you know. So they're really interesting to watch because when they come up coated in dirt, there's nothing in their eyes. I've noticed that. Their eyes, they can pop out of the ground that quick and their eyes are open, you know, and they're covered in dirt. I mean, thick, heavy dirt because they've been underneath digging. So I think that nictitating membrane in the eyelid stops that dirt from getting in the eye, and I think that it's a specialized piece of equipment that they have that humans don't have, you know. Let's see. Their nose flaps, they have nose flaps. People have asked me about that because of what the primatologist said about them. They have something that very ancient humans had, which is nose flaps. It helps them to swim. We don't have them because we learn to hold our breath, you know, and make sure that the water doesn't go up our noses. They apparently haven't achieved that piece of evolution that we did. You know, we've evolved past that. So they have it. They have a very ancient form of way of keeping the water out of their nose. You know, it's up inside and it's a nose flap. I'm not sure how that works, but and I'm not going to dissect one to try and find out. I just know that they have it. Let's see, what else can you do? Their lips are always the same color as the rest of the skin around their face. I've never seen one with red lips. I've never seen one with, any other color than the color of their skin. It is always the same. It's very soft and malleable, you know. I mean, it's just like a human lip. I mean, it's very fleshy, but they also kind of blend a little bit more flatly to the face. But I think the fleshy part that I'm talking about is how wide they are, you know, from top to bottom. They're really wide, okay? So when you see them, people always tell me, well, I think they look like a chimp. And I'm like, nope, they don't look like a chimp. Because when a chimp smiles, they only have a certain way of pulling back their facial muscles to do it. Ste'ye'mah are just like humans. Their faces are very expressive. And they can pull one side of the lid back or both sides. They make the same range of expressions that we do, even though they look a little bit different than we do. So, I hope that's answered anybody's questions about their skin. If not, please drop me a line and I will get back to you. I want to say Happy New Year, everybody, and I hope it's a really good one for us. If you like what I'm doing here, please hit like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And if you know anybody that's interested in this kind of stuff, tell them to come over and look. It doesn't hurt to look, and you might learn something. So, I guess that's going to be it for today, but I hope you all have a wonderful week ahead. Bye!